Well, hello and welcome to the Monday Mindset with Kevin DeShazo. I am Tracy Rader, Director of Implementation here at Giant. Welcome to 2021, Kevin. How are you?
Fantastic. It's a new year. It's a new Monday. I'm excited. I'm excited about the new year. How about you?
Hey, I'm really excited too. Hello from Laura from the UK. Hello, thanks for coming on
We've
with us.
gone global. We have
We have
gone
gone global,
global.
yeah.
What a day.
Thanks, Laura, for coming on. And the rest of you, glad you are here. Glad you're starting out your 2021 with us. We feel super honored, actually, that you would come on this and talk about mindset with us. I am excited about the new year. 2020 is behind us, right? And what are you thinking? What are you thinking, Kevin?
What am I thinking? I'm thinking lots of things, and January 1st, I know it's January 4th as we're recording this, but January 1st, we treat it as this like magical day, right? It's a new year. So now everything has changed. Everything is new. Everything is better. It's going to be a better year. And I certainly hope that is true. But it's not to burst anyone's bubble, but January 1st is just a day, right? January 2nd is just a day. Every day is just a day. And the reality is like that day becomes what we choose to make of it. I've been talking with teams like the last 6-7 weeks. They're like, hey, let's not wait till January 1st to start putting in place good habits. Let's start now. So we run into 2021 full speed ahead, already healthier, already better. But I think 2020, obviously it was a difficult year for most people. But it was also a good year. I think if you have the right perspective, you can hold both those things as true, right? Like there were some really difficult things, a lot of suffering, a lot of loss, a lot of obstacles, a lot of frustration, but also a lot of great things. People got to spend more time with their families. A lot of people got healthier, businesses grew. So there's a lot of good things that happened as well. But I think 2020 really exposed us, all of us, and it exposed where you put your hope. It exposed where you put your faith and your trust. It exposed where you find your identity. It exposed whether or not you're a leader who talks about leadership or actually leads. It exposed whether or not you're a person who talks about having a healthy mindset or actually has a healthy mindset. It exposed whether or not you're a person who talks about overcoming obstacles and adversity versus actually being that person that overcomes obstacles and adversity. Are you someone who talks about being positive, or are you positive? And a lot of people, I think they came out of 2020 exposed, realizing they weren't who they thought they were. They put their hope and their trust and their identity in things that were unhealthy, that weren't life-giving, that weren't lasting. They weren't the positive leader they thought they were. They weren't the great leader they thought they were. They didn't have the mindset they thought they have. And for anyone who's listening to this thinking, ouch, well, good. Like we should feel ouch every now and then. But what I don't want you to feel is judgment in that. Right. So I'm human, right? I'm just because we talk about mindset, it's something that we have to work at all the time. And there were moments in 2020 where I didn't have the right mindset. So don't feel judgment in any of that. But I do want you to feel conviction, right? I want you to feel convicted in where you fell short of your standard and where you fell short of the things you talked about versus the things that you actually lived, because there's a gap there. And that gap undermines our credibility. It undermines our influence. It undermines our impact. But we don't have to waste that, right? And so I think we have to think about 2020 and think about, where did I fall short? Right? Where did I say I was about this, but my actions showed that I was actually about this? Where did I think I was at this level, but I was actually at this level? And really the bigger picture of why, right? Why did you respond to the things the way that you responded to them? We talk all the time about control the things that you can control. Well, 2020 saw a lot of people freaking out about things that were completely out of their control and complaining about things that were out of their control, and their mindset being dictated by things that were out of their control. And so we use the tool all the time. We've used it on Monday Mindset. You've seen it on other live streams. If you're familiar with Giant, you're familiar with this tool. But it's a tool called Know Yourself to Lead Yourself. And it's one of the most powerful tools on reflection, not just that we have, but that I've seen. And I think that reflection is such a powerful practice. And especially as you enter a new year, to spend some time reflecting back on 2020. Right, where did you fall short and why? What triggered those responses? What triggered those moments? What caused you to actually be anxious? What caused you to be negative? What caused you to panic? What caused you to be overly controlling? What caused you to not be the leader that you thought you were? And go beyond just saying, Kevin, it was a pandemic. It was a hard year. It was stressful. No, I get it. But we have to figure out why we responded the way that we responded, or we're never going to get better in 2021. Because if you think 2021 is going to be easy, you're fooling yourself. Life is always full of adversity. Now, maybe not a pandemic, although it's still going on, but every year is full of adversity and obstacles and difficulties. And if we don't learn the lessons from previous years, we're bound to repeat them. That's self-awareness, right? It's a two-step process. It's knowing yourself so that you can lead yourself. Too many of us want to say, well, I'm just that way. 2020 was just a hard year. I can just ignore the way that I responded throughout that year. It's like, no, that's not true. We have to acknowledge our areas of weakness, our areas where we could have done better, so that we can do better the next time. So that when that stress hits the next time, and it's going to hit, we can say, wait a minute, last year I responded this way and that didn't go very well. So now I'm going to choose a better response. I'm going to choose a different response, because our response is our choice. That's the key with self-awareness, is choosing your response. It's the spot from tendencies to actions, because your tendencies aren't going anywhere, right? They are hardwired into you to respond a certain way under adversity, a certain way under stress, a certain way when you feel anxious. But you get to choose those actions, right? If you can understand your tendencies, you can choose a better action in the moment. And that takes discipline, that takes hard work, that takes having a mindset of growth, of saying, I don't have to be who I've always been. I can be a better version of that. I can control how I show up. I can control how I show up in 2021, right? We can hope all we want that 2021 is a great year, but habits are better than hopes. And so we have to work on having the right habits. And one of those habits is mindset. If you want to have a great 2021, it starts with your mindset, because your mindset shapes how you approach every single aspect of your life. It approaches how you communicate, how you act, how you speak, how you interact with people. Your mindset drives all of it. So nothing is going to get better in 2021 if you don't get a better mindset. And so I think we have to take some time to learn why we responded the way that we did in 2020. Where did we fall short? And again, don't call yourself out on that. Don't shame yourself. Don't beat yourself up. Just acknowledge it. Right? You're human. You're going to mess up. Perfection is not possible. Perfection is not the goal. It's about making progress. But to look back and find those key moments of 2020 where you kind of went off the path, understand why you went off the path, so that when it hits this year, it's like, you know what, I'm going to be better. 2021 is going to be better because I'm going to be better, because I'm going to learn from my mistakes. You know, adversity has this tendency to expose us. But if we use it the right way, adversity is an unbelievable teacher. It's a catalyst for growth. And that's why a lot of people that I've been talking to the last few weeks, you know, they describe 2020 as a pivotal year, a foundational year, a year that's going to be a catalyst. And these are people who had really hard, really difficult years, but they see the lessons from 2020 and they're already putting them to use to launch into 2021 and beyond on purpose. So Tracy, what are your thoughts on that?
I was reading the chat. Sorry, lots of good perspective in the chat. Margaret had said, 2020 gave us great perspective. I agree. It exposed things within us that we really need to change. Hindsight gives us great perspective. Even though 2020 was a difficult year, I learned so much and made some appropriate changes. I love the Know Yourself to Lead Yourself tool. This has helped me so much. It's helped me too. And, you know, I was thinking, and I'd be curious to know your answer to this, but I've had several friends really get into some deep depression this year. And it's hard to watch. It's hard to know how to help. Curious, Kevin, what you think about when you know it's kind of time to get help, or how much do you give yourself some freedom to go, man, it's just not a great day? And then how do you know when it's time to like do something about it, you know? Yeah.
And I think one, to start out with, like, if you need to get help, absolutely get help, right? There is never weakness in asking for help. That's one of the strongest things that you can do. So don't be afraid to go ask for help with whatever that you're dealing with. I just don't know that we're meant to deal with life alone. It's just really, really difficult. And so whether that's a community of people that you're involved in, whether that's a therapist or a counselor, whatever it looks like, you know, get help however you need to get help. But I think it's I want to be careful with my words on this, but I think a lot of that if we understand where it comes from, we can deal with it. We can recognize it. We can recognize those patterns because they're familiar patterns from our life. And so if we can know the things that lead us down that path, and we can be aware of it in the moment, and this is where nobody's choosing to go down that path, right? Nobody's choosing to be unhealthy. Nobody's choosing to be riddled with anxiety. Nobody's choosing to be depressed. But most people they're in such a, negative cycle of things that they're consuming, of things that they're thinking, and they never develop a path out. Because once you start down that path, it can very, very quickly spiral, and that can spiral into addictions, into a number of different things. And they call it a slippery slope for a reason, right? It's one bad thing and then another bad thing, and then all of a sudden you're fully off the path. And so again, don't shame yourself for that. I think it's giving yourself grace along the way to know that you're going to have bad days. Okay, you are. I don't care who you are. I don't care how healthy of a mindset you have, how great of a leader you are. Like, you're going to have bad days. Well, let me rephrase that. You're going to have hard days. Hard doesn't have to mean bad, right? Hard days don't have to be bad days, but you're going to have days where you fail. You're going to have days where you don't feel like you have enough to give. You're going to have days where you just don't feel like it at all. Like, I just need to take a day off. Give yourself grace to fall along the way, right? There is no perfection. We just can't expect that. It's unhealthy. It puts a burden on yourself. And so I think resetting expectations for yourself, because most people tend to be really hard on themselves, right? We talk about support challenge. Most people are overly challenging to themselves. And every little hiccup, every little stumble, every little fall, they just beat themselves up. Like many of you, maybe right now, it's January 4th, and you're already beating yourself up for not reaching your New Year's resolutions. You've already failed, right? It's day 4 and you've already missed a day at the gym. It's day 4 and you've already eaten an unhealthy meal, whatever it is, right? And you're I'm so weak. This is ridiculous. Why did I even try? Why did I think I could do this? And you start to believe these lies, and I might as well just give up now, right? Forget it. I'm 4 days in, couldn't make it. Might as well just scrap that whole resolution. It's like, no, you're 4 days in. Give yourself a break. It's a long year. You're not going to be perfect every day. And so I think if you can reset expectations and then have some kind of path, some kind of system to work your way out of it. When I say work, I mean like working with your thoughts, right? I've talked before, I have an identity statement on my phone. Whenever I feel pressure or self-preservation or the need to prove myself or kind of feel lost, I can go back to that identity statement and it kind of recenters me. It's like, no, this is who you are. This is what you're about. This is why you're here. And it's kind of a shaking me, right? It's like, remember who you are, right? Shaking me out of this like unhealthy mindset so that I can get back on the path. And so I think you can have triggers that can trigger unhealthy responses, but you can also put triggers into place that can put you right back into a healthy space.
I totally agree. As you're talking, I was thinking about a couple of years ago, my husband and I did a crazy thing, and we did the rim to rim Grand Canyon hike. I think it's like 22 or 24 miles that you start at one end, you go down across and back up in one day. And so we started like 5 a.m., got done at 5 or so that night. If I had gone into that with no prep, with just going, I walk around my block every once in a while, I think I'm good to go. I got some great new hiking boots. I think I've got the water. That's good. I would have probably died, to be honest. I mean, it's grueling.
Yep.
And so I'm thinking, now that we all have been there in 2020 and we know that we're not quite out of it. It's not like you said, not roses all of a sudden. We can do some prep work. And I know for me personally, the know yourself to lead yourself. I'm a huge, I've got to have exercise or I just wither away. And I know that if I start some downward spiraling in my mind, my mindset, I need to get up, go outside, take a walk. So that's just one of those little things I know about myself. And I can, if I feel myself coming down a bit, I can go, okay, got to get outside, got to get some fresh air, got to go on a walk, got to get my body moving, those things. And if I listed them all, which I probably need to do, read an encouraging book, call this friend, she's always positive, or whatever it is. There's all those prep things that you can do so that when you see it coming, okay, I'm going through my list. I love your phone idea. I'd love to hear that identity statement. I think it would be great for each of us to write our own and walk through that every morning when we wake up.
Well, we got to realize, we've talked about this before, I think, but like we're in a battle. Like life is a mental battle before probably anything else. And we start to believe all these lies about ourselves, and we take ourselves out with negative thinking. Jeremy, he used this phrase a couple of years ago in a conversation, partnering with the enemy to take yourself out with negative limiting belief. And however you want to frame the enemy, it's like that's what too many of us do. And so as soon as like one or two things happen, we go down that path of negativity, and those lies start to come back in, well, you've got to do something to counter those, right? Again, an identity statement, call a friend. Holly, a few episodes back, talked about she's got a friend that she can call who will always be like that encouraging friend that she can call with her mess, she can call with her whatever, and that person's going to listen and be encouraging. And so it's because she knows she's going to have those days, right? We're all going to have those days, but we have to have an outlet and a way to get us back on the path. And it's such a, and again, it requires that we change our habits, right? You're not going to get new results with old habits, right? If 2020 didn't work for you, right? If the way that you thought in 2020 didn't work for you, then change it, because 2021 is not going to be any better if you keep thinking the same way. If you want new outcomes, if you want a new mindset, you've got to put new habits into place. And it's hard. It's hard, but it's worth it, right? And one of the things I've been talking about with people lately is do hard things this year. The only way you grow is to do hard things. You can't keep running from adversity. You can't keep running from obstacles. You have to lean into them. That's when you start to unlock your potential and find out what you're actually capable of.
Yeah. And I'm loving what Derek said. Maybe goals can be too lofty and small steps are more reasonable. It's true. Baby steps from What About Bob comes to mind. That's funny. Yeah, I'd say that maybe at this point in life in January, where we're all talking about resolutions and goals, maybe it's overwhelming for some that have been through really hard times this last year. Maybe baby steps is a more appropriate word to just use in your own mind, just to not become too overwhelmed. So
and baby steps are still steps, right? We've talked about that on here as well. It's like, don't compare your progress or the pace of your progress with somebody else. Right? Like everyone's running, and I know it's cliche, but everyone's running their own race, right? They're losing a different amount of weight, and they started at a different weight, and they've got a different process, and they're going to write a book at a different speed. They're going to start a business at a different, it's all different, right? Even if their goal is weight loss and your goal is weight loss, it's still different. They're them and you are you. So don't compare your progress or your race with somebody else. And I think another thing is, I had this thought the other night of most people running a marathon aren't running for speed, right? Unless you're like elite, like you're a marathoner, most people are doing it just to complete it. And so they're going to find a pace that they can sustain, right? They're not going to bust out at 5 minutes per mile only to collapse at mile 7 because they can't sustain that for 26.2 miles. They may go slower, but at a pace that they can sustain. And so I think the same thing, busting out of the gates January 1, like we're going to change everything. And then January 5th, you've already burned out. It's like, no, you got to find a pace that you can sustain. And progress is progress, right? It's like, it doesn't matter how big or how small, how slow or how fast. Progress is progress. So celebrate those wins. I think too with that, and Derek mentioned it, is this idea of expectations. And we've got a tool that we use called the expectation scale. And I think it's really critical because most people at the beginning of a new year, their expectations are way up here, right? I'm going to change everything. I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to write a book. I'm going to do all this crazy stuff. And I'm going to do it by January 15th. And we put these impossible expectations on ourselves to start out the year. And that's why, I don't know what the stat is, 80 or 90% of their people give up on their resolutions by January 15th. It's because they put impossible expectations on themselves. And again, I'm going to go to the gym every day. No, you're not. And then you miss on day 4 and you start beating yourself up. It's like, well, you didn't go to the gym at all in 2020, but you're mad because you didn't make it 7 straight days in 2021. No, you made it 5 out of 7 days. That's a massive win. Great. Congratulate yourself and then get up and go back to the gym tomorrow. And so I think having realistic expectations for yourself and me, I'm going to be honest, I don't know, this is a giant endorsed thought. I think it's healthy to live right on this green yellow zone between realistic and unrealistic to kind of stretch yourself a little bit. Realistic, this is just maybe my personality. I can feel that as sometimes allows you to get complacent if it's too realistic. It's too doable. That's why I say do hard things. So try to find that balance between realistic and unrealistic. So you can get some wins along the way, but you're constantly pushing yourself. You constantly have a little bit better that you can get. But impossible is a burden, right? Impossible expectations are a burden on you that just leads to bitterness and frustration and hopelessness. And it's just not going to work out. And so I think you've got to be honest about where your expectations are for you this year. And what your actual plan is to get better, right? Everyone talks about goals. Habits are the key. Habits actually determine your output and your impact. So focus on your habits this year, right? It's what are the daily things that you are going to do that will make you better, that will give you a better mindset, that will make you a better leader, that will make you a better spouse, a better parent, a better friend.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm thinking about Sherpa training. For those of you watching, if you're not on the Giant platform, first of all, you can get a free account called Ascend, where you're going to learn a lot of great content about self-awareness. But then there's a paid subscription, what we call Invincible. It's all for teams. And what organizations do is get their entire organization or a team or two or several on, and you get what we call Sherpa training. It's a 51 session training where we work on self-awareness, getting to know yourself and those tendencies Kevin's talking about, but also it teaches you how to lead others. And there's something about investing in other people that deflects your own self and puts your focus on others. And for me, there's no better way for me to get out of a funk than helping lead someone else. And so I just encourage you, if you don't know about that, we'd love to tell you more. So reach out to us at hello@giantworldwide.com, but also just, we'd love to show you more.
And I would really encourage you, two things on that. One, do it. This is content, again, it's designed to help you get healthy. It's weekly, 12 to 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes at the most, whenever you want, right? Over your morning coffee, over your lunch break, in the evening, on a Saturday morning, whatever it is. It's the Sherpa training is your opportunity to invest in yourself on your own time. What I would really challenge you to do is get somebody to do it with you, right? Sign up you and a friend, and that way you could split the cost, or you and someone on your team. That way you can, again, split the cost, but you can hold each other accountable to it, to the learnings, share the learnings. Again, when you're running a race linked with someone else, it's just easier, and you're going to go a whole lot farther. Words are hard. Than if you're running by yourself. Right. And so I would really challenge you to do Sherpa training and get somebody else involved with you. And the second thing is find a coach this year. If you need help, again, email us. We'll find a giant in your area who may be interested in coaching you. Coach, like the best leaders have coaches, right? The most productive people that I know have somebody coaching them, whether they're CEOs of multi-million-dollar companies, whether they're head coaches at Division I football programs. Like the most productive people that I know who are consistently getting better, they have a coach, because they know like they've got blind spots and they need someone to coach them, to help them get better. So find someone to coach you this year. I will promise you it will be one of the best investments you will ever make in your life. But if you can't afford a coach, do Sherpa training. That will be just an incredible investment, and not just in you, but in everyone around you, right? Because as you get better, you're going to make everyone around you better.
That's great. Yeah, love it. So in perfect guardian, immature guardian style, I just started this whole live stream without even talking about what your Christmas was and your time with your family. So I'm doing it upside down and backwards, but tell me a highlight from, I know you're in a really fun stage with your family. Your kids are small. What was a highlight?
Oh man, what was a highlight? I mean, we did nothing. We hung out. I was as lazy over the last 10 days as I've been in the last 30 years. And we hung out, we did Christmas with family. We built snowman because we, obviously here in Oklahoma City, for those who don't know, we've had just some unbelievable snow over the last 2 weeks. Yeah. And so we built snowman. I did a polar plunge on January 1st, which was great, but also terrible at the same time. Watched a lot of movies, a lot of movie nights. We're working through the Harry Potter series with our boys. But it was a good time to just rest and recharge and be present with the family and come into 2021 just kind of with a free mindset, rested and ready for the challenges that are going to come our way this year. What about you?
That's awesome. Yeah, we had a great one. Our oldest son got married a week and a half before Christmas. So that was awesome. And all the family was in. So we were able to celebrate kind of early, and then kind of crazy. My husband ended up with appendicitis on Christmas Day. So that was kind of a bummer, but it's okay. We had a lot of fun before that. So we too did a lot of movie time after as he was recouping. I'm sure he loves that I'm sharing this personal information. But no, I can't complain. We had a great time and lots of recharge. And, I'm learning how to not feel guilty for laying around and having some recharge time, because it's important. So I hope that the rest of you were able to get some of that as well. And as always, Kevin, thank you for the encouragement on just having a healthy mindset. I think like no time ever do we need that in our lives and to retrain our minds. So we thank you for that. And we will see you all next time. Any last words, Kevin?
No, Happy New Year. Let's actually make it a great year, right? Like let's commit not to hoping for it to be a great year, not to whatever, all this wishy-washy. Like let's commit to showing up and doing our part to be better so that we can have a better year. I'm excited for you guys. I'm excited to walk along this journey. And we'll see you guys next Monday.
All right. Bye, everyone.